here, it'll say like, oh yeah, live meeting. Do you see that on your end?
I do. Yeah.
Cool. So, and then it always takes a second for it to upload here, but if any comments or anything come through, I'll be sure to share it with you.
Okay.
Unless you're like on it, but I do think
like looking on my phone.
Oh yeah, unless you're like on your phone. But I have noticed too with this new Zoom update, it seems as though like the delay is much longer than it was. It's just more than it was before. So for anyone who is here joining us live, please say hello. And I'm happy that you're here. Bringing Amanda, Brand Lab alumni, into here. And also, if anyone is here listening and you hear feedback from me, I would just like to know if you can hear that, because there's like this weird thing going on tech-wise in my ears. But it seems like it's not changing. So we're going to have to keep it for now. I'm just curious if you hear that. But yeah, I brought Amanda in to talk a little bit about her brand story and experience. Amanda came, and I'll let Amanda introduce herself in a minute, but Amanda came into the first round of Brand Lab with part of her brand figured out. Like Amanda had a logo. She worked with a designer to build the, a beginning part, we'll say, some assets for her brand, which included a color palette, a logo, and there's a brand pattern that you use, which is beautiful. And what else did you get from Katie's work?
I have like a little brand mark, so my little M, and then the little sewing machine illustration.
Yeah. So a couple of like custom assets that she came in with. But in terms of brand foundation, there wasn't a lot there. It was like, okay, I can take these things, but like now what do I do with it? And like, how do I bring this forward? So without jumping in too fast, maybe I jumped in too fast. I do want to just say welcome to Scorpio full moon. Amanda and I were just talking right before getting on. I have noticed that I'm feeling like both low energy and like also really fiery. So like may or may not have gotten into a little bit of an argument with somebody in my neighborhood who yelled at me for having my dog off the leash this morning before 9 a.m. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge if anyone is feeling that, it's a pretty big energetic experience that we're collectively going through. I just want to acknowledge that. Okay, let's see, Amanda. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your brand Mend and whatever you want to share about it, how it came about, what you do. I think it'd be nice to share the complexity of like the different facets of things that you do, because you're pretty well rounded. It's not just like a very clear cut, this is what Mend offers. So yeah, go ahead and share.
Yeah, I mean, I still struggle with that sometimes of like what the more like succinct statement is. But yeah, Mend came to being just this past summer. I was actually working with Beth in one of her programs to really figure out what Here to Thrive program, what my purpose is and was, because I was feeling pretty lost about that at the time and felt like I should just abandon all things creative because I felt like it hadn't served me, which is not true, but that's where I was at. And so I sort of pulled together all the things I really like, which is I do like the creativity or like problem solving. I like really connecting deeply with people, and tried to think of like what we could use, which I at the time thought was alterations for women, like tailoring, because I felt like we didn't have that very well. And I'm very happy that that vision has evolved more as I've gotten into it and kind of testing what I like and what works for me. And it's more about, I'd say, transformation of one-of-a-kind textile goods. But so that could be interiors and apparel, home and apparel, and enhancements, repairs, all that kind of stuff. But what has recently kind of come into the fold here is these intuitive style readings as well, which I was struggling a little bit with figuring out what that story is. But really at the heart of it, I just want something you love or something that's on your body or in your home to be really meaningful for you, make you feel like yourself and feel really good in it. And so if it's a style reading, I might help you rediscover like who you are and how you dress your body in your home. And then maybe it's you have pieces you already love or you want to add to, and I can help bring those to life. I can make custom items, I can repair them, whatever it may be. Like, I don't really like to filter myself to a small area because I want to be able to just like bring your story to life, whatever that is, through textiles.
Yeah. Love that. I feel like just you starting with that, I kind of I want to like give a little story about your story too.
Love it.
So like, if that's okay.
I love it when people tell stories for me. You know, I'm like, struggle with that.
I'll just talk about you. Yeah. Amanda and I started working together. Yeah. Last summer, I think in June, maybe June. Yeah. Or end of May or June. So almost a year ago. And yeah, as she said, she went through my healing program, Here to Thrive. And what was so fascinating about that work together was that Amanda was, like she said, ready to abandon this creative side and feeling like, you know, oh, she studied fashion design in school. We went to college together, had kind of like gone off our own ways. And then we sort of like reconnected last summer. But yeah, there were a lot of wounds around creativity and around feeling like, how do I want to say this? Yeah, being able to own that piece. You were kind of like always immersed in the creative world, but not like really owning it as your own, just feeling like, you know, in school, like we're always, I don't know, comparing ourselves to other people. And kind of the sense that I got from you was like, yeah, I understand it and I get by, but it's like, maybe it's just not really my thing. It's like other people's thing, because Amanda there wasn't like one specific thing that you were known for. Like some people are known for their illustration style. Some people are known for like, you know, leaving college and like starting their own, you know, apparel company. I'm thinking of like our classmate, Mandy. You know, like some certain people were like actually just really defined. And Amanda actually is wildly creative, but like in all of these areas. And what was interesting was to see this in her human design. So this is why I'm like going back here, because when I read her human design for her, for those of you who know human design, if you look at your chart and you have gate 41 at the bottom at the root, that usually means that you're going to have some type of artistic expression that is like yearning to come through you. And typically that has something to do with your career. So it doesn't always mean you're going to be an illustrator or, you know, creator. I don't know. It could be that like you're a dancer or you're into music or, you know, whatever, but like creative expression, you know, for your sort of like soul purpose is part of your design. So reading that to Amanda was like, oh, she was like, really like, okay, so I guess I'm not going to like let that part of me go. And then on top of it, there were a couple of other areas. So one being her open throat, and that she's here to tell stories for others, like help others tell their story. And Amanda also like looking at her, man, really like getting into this. This is just where my mind's going.
That's great. I love it.
I'm just going to give you like a refresher on your whole chart anyway. Right now.
That's fine. I love it.
Looking at Amanda's North Node as well. So she has a North Node in Taurus in the house of Capricorn. So that means leaving the South Node in Scorpio, highly intuitive, like understands these, like innately has spent lifetimes understanding these otherworldly realms, and bringing that to, you know, a Taurus expression is like bringing it from the non-material to the material world, and maybe not hanging out in the darkness, but like, you know, focusing on what can be light and what can be beautiful. So like making things really beautiful. So that's one thing. And, you know, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So again, beauty and love and expression in that way of the earth, you know, like physical, tangible material. And then with her South Node placement being, you know, in the house of Cancer, going toward Capricorn, it's like leaving the sense of home and bringing forward this natural empathy and like, I want to call it like mothering sense that you have. Like Amanda's like so empathetic, and like you know, if something is going on, like I would say all of her friends probably would say that like she's someone that they can go to and share their story and be met with love and a space and safety and like mothering, like feel like a mother. But it's in her, you know, soul's purpose to like come forward and like activate more of this outward focused, you know, more of that yang, masculine energy, stepping into Capricorn. So having a space or a business, a lot of times when people have their North Node in Capricorn placement, like the placement of the North Node, oftentimes it's like you are going to be recognized as a structure or a figure or a business that is that we can rely on in some way. And then the last piece I want to like pull together, because it's kind of like a whole, when you're like discovering your purpose, it's like all these little hints. And I mean, this didn't happen in like one session. This happened, over the course of time. Yeah. And Amanda being like, hey, this kind of came forward, and, tuning into her own intuition, which is like, she's deeply, deeply intuitive. But like when we first started working together, just not really like connected to it. Just kind of like, yeah, you were just like, I don't know, didn't trust it, like, so we were able to kind of like move some of the stuff that kept you from there. But the other piece was that, I can't remember which gate this is, but also in human design, Amanda has this particular energy placement where she has a love for the physical body, and it's part of her journey to learn to love her own body and to then help other people with it. So honestly, the very first like reading, I was like, oh, maybe you'll be like a fitness instructor or something like that. Like, we'll see. But, combining that with creativity and your intuitive past, if you will, and like reconnecting to those intuitive roots, this story of your brand Mend has like really started to unfold and like build and grow. And what you need from a brand is like from a, physical brand is the room to flex, and be able to dip in and out. And it needs to be, we'll call it broad enough so that it all makes sense when it's coming from you, but it also allows you to decide, okay, do I still want to be doing this part of it? Because you're in your super early stages of like what this looks like. Which,
yeah, I think the branding piece that I really like yearned for when I went through your brand lab was just because I have all these things, and I am a Libra, I can be very airy and like see all the potential and everything. And it's hard for me to like kind of hone down. I at least wanted my brand, or needed like the consistency, like you said, have the freedom to be able to talk about all these things, but like almost like some rules to keep me grounded, because I'm like very much like, oh, I like that, I want to do that, or oh, there's this thing. And so that's what it's really most helpful for me, even though I already had the logo, the color palette, which we did adjust a bit, all these things. It was like I wasn't even considering how they really interplayed. I just wanted to get them started at the beginning, because it was really important to me that I had a branding on it, because it made me feel like this is a thing now, like this business is real, when I had the logo. And because it's not my name, I wanted it to be out there and show up. But then it's like definitely like the phase 2 of applying it is what I really needed help with.
Yeah. And I think that's what, the program is designed to walk you through how to create the foundation, which if you've watched me talk about this, I call it the brand world, but other people might call it a mood board or something like that. But for me, the brand world is that foundation that anchors you. It includes obviously the visual expression from an imagery standpoint, but it goes much further to include, we really try to think about all of the senses and the emotion and the intention behind the work, and what words, like actual words, will articulate the brand, so it's like a really robust kind of foundation. And so when we were able to put that together for Amanda, then we moved into, and I'm going to hop on and show your brand world. And we'll see, I'll just pop in quickly here. But when we did that, then we can move on to choosing some Instagram like templates, because that's the next place that you are ready. Actually, I think during the class, you got your website done and published, right?
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about what tweaks could go there, but like the philosophy is like, at least my philosophy is done is better than perfect. And each piece adds, I'm having like crazy deja vu right now. This is like really strange. You've never even been on here, right? No. Have you come on live before?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we've talked about it, but no.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my first.
Pardon me. Sorry, that like really wigged me out for a second. All
We
right, let me
just
go
chat
to,
a little bit on the side, just a little. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be that. It could be that. Okay, so I'm just pulling up, the first page of the brand world. Oh yeah. So what I was saying is that we moved on to pulling in some Instagram templates, and I think you had several that you had started, but it was really about like refining, tweaking. And a big thing with your brand is that it feels like, if we're looking at the attributes, it's like these stories, each person has their own item and good, or, you work with like heirloom items and things that like usually carry an energy of some type of story, either for them or from like, if you bought it from a secondhand shop, it like comes to you with stories.
right.
And with Amanda's intuitive gifts, she can actually like go into the Akashic records of that item and understand like the life cycle of what it has had before and what the energy it's carrying. So she like, I don't know, your work is deeply bespoke, and it's like
Yeah.
it's very I'm just like riffing on what I know about your work, but it's steeped with a lot of intention, and it is very like unique to the individual that you are working with. So it's just a very
Yeah.
tailored experience.
And that's what I was really and still struggle with, but I feel on so much better of a path now, is when I make content, like to some extent it feels out of my control because it's someone else's piece. And there are times where I create my own work, but it's not as often as when I'm working on other people's pieces. And it's also like the emotion I feel with it. Like I have a hard time expressing it like visually or in words. And that was what I was going to say too, is even though I came with some of these visions, what was really helpful going through all of this is that like you're so good at verbally and visually. I think visually often, but verbally being able to articulate like all the vision I have for it and like the emotions I have for it, but not be able to like put pen to paper.
Sure. Well, thank you. It's
Yeah.
so fun. It's fun. It's so fun. Um, yeah, like really, really being able to, yeah, express it all in the way that it wants to be expressed. So I'll just do a quick peek of where Amanda's brand world ended up. And it's this mix of, bespoke and unique and hand touched. All these pieces on here feel like one of a kind pieces. I mean, especially, you probably can't see this that strongly from the screen, but what I'm hovering over here are all these like particular stitches. I know that there's a name for it, Amanda, that but of like how to actually mend an item and increase its life cycle and honor and preserve the emotions behind it, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we were able to land on something, and then in the color palette totally refined it. So I'll just go down to, these were the initial things that you received.
Yes.
Which are beautiful. And we did talk about what your photo shoot could look like a little bit,
Yeah.
Because you're getting that going. And yeah, the difference between brand photography and what your headshot and like your kind of like actual work photography would look like. And then, yeah, for color, we had this, you started with this palette down here, right? Like it had the blue and the ochre in with some of these, right?
It did. Yeah.
Yeah. And we ended up, just totally shifting and refining. And Frankie came in, hi, and just nailing down something for you so that you could start working. Shoot, I didn't pull up well, I don't think that matters. I wanted to pull up your Instagram posts because we did a lot of work with those.
Yeah.
You're looking at like Hot Mess Express over here with I wonder if those were sent to I've got all these teams here, which Canva makes really confusing. Let's see if I can't find them. Yeah, I'm not seeing them. Well, anyway, you should check out Amanda's Instagram. at Men Custom Goods. And you'd see. But yeah, it was really helpful, to give you some clarity around like what it is. And Amanda's sort of like, I'll go to stop share. Amanda's sort of like, and maybe I don't want to like, maybe I shouldn't talk for you, but I feel like you're kind of like this like intuitive, witchy cheerleader for people. It's like when you work with someone and do like a style reading, you like tune into their energy and you pull together this gorgeous expression of who they are through like a detailed PDF, which I guess we could share that as well. But like the whole essence of, or the whole reason of doing that is to like help someone else see themselves from this like really beautiful light that you see them as when you are in their reading. Am I capturing that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think we all go through our own confidence and image and all that kind of stuff. And like, I think we all, when we have experienced something personal, I've had all kinds of body image issues throughout the years. And, but I've also like turned to fashion as like inspiration always, and like pairing those things together. But, like Beth said about my open throat, like I don't really see the need or feel comfortable talking about myself a lot, even though we're working on that. But I get so much energy from helping others like be more confident. When you say cheerleader, that is, I think, one of the words I even use on my website. Like, I want you to feel really good about being you, for one. Like, I want to hopefully in a style reading be able to see like who you uniquely are, not trends, that sort of thing, and make you feel like someone saw you. And then to then be able to express that outwardly or make you feel a certain way. And that was what I was going to say. I'm backtracking a minute, but you helped me a lot with too, was I had a style guide I had been using.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just the Canva template that I just filled things in. And so you've helped me a lot with that. And then the other piece in the Instagram post too was with my color palette. The reason we refined the color palette too is because when I initially asked Katie to help me with the branding, like I had no idea how I'd be using these colors. I hadn't even thought about that. And so it wasn't until I'm trying to make posts and like actually use my branding that I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or there's too many choices for me, maybe, because I like to put a lot of things together. So that was how we ended up there. And I think the best part for me was, and I think Karen said this in your live before too, is being able to have other people in the group, is being able to be inspired every single week by what people are bringing, and opens up the possibility of what I can bring to you. Like I knew I wanted help with Instagram, but I hadn't even thought about getting your eyes on this style guide thing until Karen brought some PDFs to it. So then I was like, oh my gosh, this was so helpful. It makes me more efficient. And that's what I really wanted, was like the clarity to be efficient with how I create content, because I'm thinking about different things in the work I do all the time and have that tendency anyways to need to be grounded. And so just having that consistency saves me a lot of time and mental energy, but still gives me the room to like take beautiful videos of the things that I've created, or show people style guides, or maybe.
Yeah. And before I show the style guide, a couple of things that I'm just, picking up from that, the benefit of having a brand is, there's a lot of benefits, obviously, but the benefit of having a brand that is like recognizable and succinct, like, the kind of the purpose of it is to, help build trust, right? Like people will see it and they will recognize, oh, this is that brand. I'm drawn to it for some reason. Maybe I want to do a style guide, like Amanda does style guides for people's weddings. Like it's, all kind of like there's so many options, right? But because all of your work is unique to each person from a visual standpoint, if you were just like posting all over the board what everybody's stuff looked like, it would be harder for people to like notice you, basically, in the sea. I mean, if we're thinking about Instagram, because that's Instagram, or whatever social platform you're using, as you're like acquiring new people and connecting with new people, there needed to be a container that everything could fit in that still felt branded. And so we needed yours to be a little bit more subdued and grounded to hold the energy of all the other things that you work on. So that so that it makes sense as people are like scrolling through or connecting with your brand. And so then you seeing how your website looks and how that, can be inspired by how your Instagram is coming to life. And then, because we talked a lot too about, how you show before and afters of your garments. Like, do you, for Amanda, it's like actually she was doing a lot of still photographs, but we, decided that doing video would actually be a little bit more, would actually express the energy of what you do a little bit differently. And so we created a template for you to be able to like slot that in. So you don't have to think about it every single time. It's like, there's so much, we're wearing so many hats as entrepreneurs. And the thought that you have to put into, which template should I use and which color should I be going for? And how should my text lay out? Like, which fonts am I doing? Like all of that stuff, like all of that can be like just on autopilot for you. We can just like have the bucket of choices. And in the program, I like lead you through, and everybody, again, if you've been watching these, everyone comes out looking unique, because of everyone's unique expression. I mean, I see Amanda as a healer in a different way than, this standard, like you don't have an intuitive healing session, but those intuitive style guides or readings are like deeply healing. So, it's, you really get to leave with a deep understanding of how to use and how to set up a system so that you can be efficient and trust your brand to do work for you when you're not physically able to, like when you're sleeping and when people are dropping in on your website and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And for me, any barrier that makes it hard for me to express myself, like I'm not happy with the photo I took, or I'm trying a new Canva template and I still don't really like it. Like even the one that you helped me clean up, but you were like, this one looks really good. I was like, oh my God, it took me forever to just find the template that I liked the most and resonated with. I made like 6 different versions of different templates. And then the copy on top of it, because copy takes me a minute as well. Any barrier that is like, I see it and I think I get the hit of imposter syndrome a bit. And then I'm just like, we're just going to neatly chunk that away to another day to worry about. So it pushes, not that I'm on a timeline. I don't schedule posts so many days a week or that sort of thing. Yet. Right now I don't. But I do have the framework in my mind of like, well, my next post is going to be this because of the story I'm telling, because of the color, like story I'm telling overall on my grid. Like I'm much more strategic about it. And I'm starting to get a bit of like a bank of products or things I've done to show too. So it doesn't feel like, at first I was like, okay, I've done a project. I need to post about this thing, but I don't like the photo, or I don't like this. And so all of that just, even, I mean, honestly, you just being like, I think a video works better for you, freed up huge amount of time and energy for me that I was just like spinning my wheels against.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's like, it's like a win-win, because it's like, that's easier. And that just like naturally makes sense for your energy. Like it was like this moment of like, why don't you just take a video instead? And like, let's make it easy, right? Like we have, like you said, so many roadblocks. There's so many emotional barriers, which we touch on in the course to help, like, by you being in your brand and us working together, you actually like move through a lot of that shit just by being witnessed by other people in the group. And, everyone is sort of cheering each other on, and you're learning how to be empowered in the way that you're working with your brand. And so, you just kind of clear through a lot of things that normally keep you stuck, would be like a barrier in any situation. Cause you kind of leave with more than a brand. You leave with a content strategy. You leave with, Karen came up with a program in the middle of our
it was
course.
Great. Yeah, it's great.
Lauren came out with her like weekly Reiki, like ready to start offering what she's been like sitting on for a while, things of that nature. So I'll show, I've didn't realize I wasn't sharing my screen. I'll show the style guide quickly. But yeah, so basically, and I'll just say this quickly, Amanda was using different style guides for different people, right? You were just like popping in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is sure, that's fine. That's fine to do. However, in order for Amanda to free up energy, and then in order for people, like, so that you don't have to like find a special style guide for a certain person, and in order for people to receive a like energetically grounded experience, like not every single thing needs to be custom to that person, if that makes sense. So like allowing this template that, you know, she picked up a template, we dropped her fonts in here and we moved some of the elements around. I put my name up here because I was like, I chose the one that had my name on it. I'm going to pretend like this is my style guide. But, you know, being able to, give you a presentation that, you know, that all of like the format would fit into it for each person gets to free up a lot of energy, because you're going in and doing intuitive readings already for them and gathering like all these, you know, different looks and explaining their aura colors and everything. So I'm just going to scroll through.
And I'm so jazzed about this now. Like I was feeling fine about it before, but it didn't feel, and when I say personalized, I don't mean, of course it's personalized because it's for the person that I'm doing the reading for, but like it feels special, I think. And I said to Beth, it feels like editorial, like in a fashion magazine or something like that. And I mean, I know maybe, you know, that seems silly in general, but like for me, I want this to feel like this is for you, and it is really special and it's not generic. And so just even leaving one workshop or one, you know, session within a workshop with Beth, I was like, I'm so excited and I can run with this. And I have been. It's just,
I mean, it's so sexy. I can't wait for you to do mine.
Okay.
I can't wait to get one.
I'm like, so like, and I feel like emotionally tied to that now. Yeah. Whereas before I was like, this is nice. This is a nice way to lay out stuff. Like, I don't feel like not great when I send it out. I feel fine about it. But now I'm like, so it feels like mine or men's. It feels like something I'm like so excited for someone to get their hands on beyond the content that I created for them. Because I'm very excited about that too. But now I'm just like, this is like the full package that I want people to experience when they do something like this.
Yeah. No, I love it. And like, I mean, it speaks so much to like someone getting that in, you know, getting that whole, I mean, obviously I shouldn't say obviously, but in your sessions, you have like a dialogue. You don't just like drop the guide in their inbox or whatever, but then they get to have that. And like, it feels so elevated and it feels sophisticated. And like your personal style is elevated, sophisticated with like this touch of quirk, like a lot of quirk. And that's not necessarily men's like personal style, you know what I mean? But there is an element of space for what's the right word? Like men would live in an anthropology versus, I use anthropology versus West Elm, would probably live in anthropology versus West Elm, but it's like it's still not that, anthropology is like still too like specifically quirky, I guess. And
yeah, I started to take my earring off because when you said that, I'm like, these aren't hoop earrings. These have like a weird bird on them. Like, that's like, that is, I probably can't see it, but like, that's me. That's actually I'm more toned down today than I usually am. But
well, and all the art in your house and all of the stuff that you like, everything that you have in your home and like choose to put in your body is like intentionally chosen. And you get to bring some of that energy, you know, some of that energy comes through, you know, mend comes through you in that way. But like mend needed to be more of that Capricorn North Node, which is just like solid structure. Like, and so we created those structures for you so that you could flow within it, and others can see themselves fitting within your work.
That's about your work. As I say, that's what I think it is. I think it needs to be that like stability in how men shows up. And like you said, I had to strip back some from all the shiny things I wanted to look at so that like this is Mend, you can see what the Mend brand is, but then it leaves all this room for all the colors of everybody's projects to come through. I just worked on a really good friend's baby blanket, and I'll put that on my feed at some point, but she was very sweet and shared it. And like, it's a baby blanket, it's pink. And then we added this like really intricate, bold colored stitching on it. Like, if I want that to live on my feed, I need like the balance of the other posts to kind of like keep it all together. So that's what I like about it, is that like, I think that structure in what Mend is then allows everybody else's personality that I'm working with to come through, which I really love. Like, I want people, when they interact with Mend or with the Instagram page, or the site is probably doesn't come through a lot right now, but to feel excited because they saw what someone else was able to experience and could like feel it for them, you know, like whatever that may be, whether it's a style guide, whether it's reworking a piece, and to like feel the energy of, when I worked on that baby blanket, like every stitch I thought about like the love and like the story that this person gave to me when she gave me this blanket, like the emotional attachment to it. And like, that's what I want to come through. And I think that was a long-winded explanation, but I think that's like what helps when you've got, you know, I brought these to show people like what I made in, because of the work with you, like my little cards, right? Like,
so
it's
gorgeous.
gold, it's premium, like, but it's not like in your face, right? And that allows for everybody else's work to come through too.
Yeah. And I'll just say one more thing about your brand as a whole. Like, your brand is, you know, again, thinking about that North Node and Taurus and the visual, like, you know, connection to Venus and this like visual expression of beauty, and making things, taking things that are meaningful and making them beautiful, and allowing people to see their life through a lens of joy and just goodness, you know. And and I'm keep going back to your Instagram feed, because that's a lot of where we focus to like get that all figured out. Your feed and, you know, the brand as a whole gets to serve as like a visual inspiration for people. And I know you were saying this, but I'm just like seeing it as like each thing that you work on, whether it's an intuitive style guide or someone's, you know, someone's baby blanket, or I know I have a sweatshirt that I'm going to be sending to you to do a custom, you know, embroidery on. Like, everyone's piece is a piece of art once they hand it to you and you like tune in and put all that energy into it and love, and it's artful and it's inspirational, and it's that Taurus North Node of bringing beauty into this world in a tangible way, by like pulling in your intuitive gifts and being able to see into somebody and see into their energy and see what would feel really good. So yeah, I feel like your feed needs to be able to, like we were saying, I'm just repeating myself, but your space needed to be able to reflect that, and so that other people could feel welcomed in and like want their space within your presence. So yeah, I'm excited to see you started posting a lot more. Like, I was like super jazzed. I'm always, Amanda moves so quickly, and I know you don't usually think that, but like, you just learned about psychometry, like learned in this life about psychometry in like November or December of this year, of last year. It's only been a few months, and you are like, so, I mean, just like broke open into these gifts, and like really, you know, moving through the way you're building this, you know, in a really authentic, and to me, it's very fast. Maybe it's because I've been around doing this work for a long time. And I feel like I move slower. So I'm always inspired to see you.
I'd say the business part of it, I feel very slow with, which is that's where I want to invest my time and money, is with the people that I see as like the experts, like you, sure. Like, you know, some of the other things I've done or I have been doing, because that's where I feel completely lost most of the time. And I like to learn just like you do, I know. And so some of those things just kind of come to me as they will, because that's what I'm like, I think, open to receiving, because I'm so excited about it. Whereas the other stuff, I'm like, this is what I need like the help with.
Yeah.
And that's where, this work with you helps so much. I was gonna say the thing about the psychometry, I also think a lot of that's the 2-4 thing. Like, it's my network, right? Like, everything I've gotten to, maybe not everything, but most of the things I've gotten to so far have been because of all the women that have like built it before me and have like carried me forward or have given my name to someone. And then I'm able to, I think that's what Mend is. I think it's like the curation of a lot of things. And then I do the output, but it's like, I spend time with you, I spend time with other people in the lab, and I get to like enjoy and learn from everybody else and then like filter it out. I know we all do that, but I do think that's a little bit of like where all my things are. There's something else I was going to say about. Oh, I did want to say, I know we've talked a lot about Instagram, but for me, Instagram was really important because I don't use Facebook for Men's platform, aside from just having it as a business name and having my Instagram post feed there. Right now, I don't see it working for Men in the current state I'm in, might someday. So Instagram for me is about being my portfolio. Like, it can just feed into my website. But, for other people, like, there might be a more heavy tilt to Facebook or print or something like that. And that's what I want people to get out of it too, is like, this was what I needed from you the most help with, or what I defined. But you flex to anything that people need.
Do it all.
You do. I mean, like I said, it seems so silly, but when you were like, you could take a video, I was like, I can take a video. I don't have to like,
life changed.
I don't have to take my piece of paper outside with me in the natural light, try to like pose my product, have the photo look kind of crappy anyways, and then just be like, look at all this time I spent like trying to get it the right way. So that's why I keep bringing that point up, because it was one little thing that was like huge to me.
Right. Yeah. And it was a barrier to you sharing the work, and we're here to share so that people know that we're here to help. And if you can't get out there and share, which is, seems like a very simple thing sometimes, sometimes it's not that simple. So internally, sometimes it doesn't feel that simple. Right. So, happy to reflect back, like being able to work smarter, not harder. Even for those of us who actually like to work hard. I think I do both. But yeah, I feel like that's, if anyone has questions, obviously reach out. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience, both with, hinting at some of the healing work that we've done, as well as, working in the brand lab and really, accelerating your brand, and really refining it to a space where you feel good about it and you're excited to work with it and share it. And yeah, I mean, just for those that are watching, Brand Lab doors close on May 7th. So next Friday. And I have a link in here for free brand chats. So I'm offering 30-minute calls for me to just like hear where you are and give you some, get you a quick win, give you some advice right away so you can get moving. Because I my energy needs to respond to something, right? So I'm a generator. So it's like, I kind of need to be in your energy to be able to like specifically help you. If it feels like a good fit and this program sounds good to you, let me know and let's chat. It sounds good. Okay, well, Amanda, I will let you go. I'll let you go. Sorry, I was making sure last week when I couldn't get into Zoom or couldn't get into Facebook, the whole Zoom thing got really weird. But anyway, we're cool now. Thank you again so much for sharing your story, and I'll let you get back to work today. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna have Amanda on later to like actually talk about these intuitive style readings, because they are but yeah, that's coming up. All right, stay tuned. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, bye.